Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bianca and I'm the Green Creator. Today, as you can tell by the title, I am going to interview Dr. Michael Greger. If you are vegan or if you are a whole food plant-based foodie or if you're thinking of adapting a more plant-based diet and you don't know about Dr. Greger, you're kind of missing out. Dr. Greger is an author, a physician and a public speaker, and he emphasizes the importance of a whole food plant-based vegan diet and the harm we do to our bodies when we consume animal products. And he has a ton of information to share on his website, nutritionfacts.org, on his YouTube channel, in his book. Nevertheless, I ask you guys, do you have any questions for Dr. Greger? And you had a lot of questions. So I'm going to try to squeeze it all in the time that I got today with him. And yeah, let's see. But now I'm going to connect with Dr. Michael Greger. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Well, I have a lot of ground to cover today, so I thought let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
I asked everyone on Instagram and Facebook if they have questions for you, and they had a ton.
Right.
The first one is a question about soy products. Especially among women, there's this constant fear for soy products, and I get questions about it. And I think the core of the fear is that a lot of doctors, yourself and anyone who would you consider your colleague, they dig into the same source, like PubMed.org, yet they all have a different outcome. One says limited, one says avoid it as the plague when cancer runs in your family. How is that even possible?
How it's possible is because they're not looking at the species on which the studies were done. If you look at the human studies, there have been 4 human studies, for example, looking at soy consumption and breast cancer survivorship. So if you take thousands of breast cancer survivors, and look at those who eat soy versus those who not, asking the simple question, wait a second, who lives longer, who has lower cancer recurrence rates? And in every single one of those studies, those women that ate soy lived longer and had lower risk of the cancer coming back. You put them all together, significantly greater survivorship, live significantly longer. And so this is with estrogen receptor positive breast cancer, estrogen receptor negative, those on tamoxifen, those off tamoxifen. Every subgroup, every class of women actually was beneficial. Now, if you look at hamsters, or if you look at mice, if you look at different rodents, then you see different results. But I'm not a veterinarian. What I care about is human health, and every single study that's ever been done on people, for example, for breast cancer, survivors shows the benefit. And so the recommendations have gone from not just have gone to encouraging women with breast cancer to go out of the way to include soy products in the diet and other phytoestrogen rich foods such as flax seeds.
And what about the more processed soy products like tofu, for example? Is there a limit daily intake that you would recommend?
Oh, so tofu is kind of the white bread of the soy kingdom. It's relatively processed. So you take whole soybeans, remove about half the fiber, half the minerals, and you're left with tofu. Now, soybeans are so incredibly healthy. You remove half the nutrition, still get a really healthy product. But compare tofu to tempeh, for example, which is a whole soy food. You can actually see the individual whole soybeans in there. So that would be preferable. Tempeh, miso, like edamame, the immature green soybeans, you can just eat like a snack. Kids love them. They're delicious. That would be the healthiest way to eat soy. Food as grown, better than processed. But again, tofu is still better than what most people eat.
All right. And now a question about oil. We all know oil is not a whole food, so it doesn't fit in a whole food plant-based diet.
Sure.
But some people say, what about all these people on a Mediterranean diet? They seem to thrive, and they include oil.
Oh, they seem to thrive because they're eating so many vegetables. That's fantastic. But the question is whether they're thriving because of the oil or in spite of the oil. There's a number of problems with the Mediterranean diet. They also eat refined grains like white bread. They also drink alcohol. They're getting too much sodium in their diet. But oh my God, way healthier than what you see in kind of a standard Western diet. But if you think, what are they putting olive oil on? They're putting olive oil on greens. They're putting it on vegetables, and that's and so it's kind of a proxy for vegetable consumption.
Yeah.
But if you actually look at like the Predimed study where people were randomized to different types of Mediterranean diet, those that added nuts to their diet rather than olive oil, those that ate the most nuts lived significantly longer compared to the extra virgin olive oil group. So I encourage people to get fat from whole foods like nuts, seeds, avocados, nut butter, seed butters. That's the way, because
And that
then we get actually nutrients
true.
beyond just the few fat soluble vitamins found in the oil.
True, true. And that brings me to the next question about it. Whole food fats such as walnuts, avocados, hemp seed fat, they're all good. But is there like a tipping point when you eat so much of it? Let's not look at the calories now because there's only so much you can eat in a day. But let's say, is there like a tipping point? You can eat so much of whole food fats that it's almost as bad as consuming oil?
Well, no, because I mean that the fat becomes prepackaged with all those phytonutrients and antioxidants. It's like saying, can you eat too much fruit because sugar is bad? Well, yeah, but the sugar in fruit is prepackaged with fiber and phytonutrients, such that it allows your bodies to benefit from the consumption. And so, has it been tested? Well, for fruit, it's been tested up to 23 servings of fruit a day. Saw no negative side effects. In fact, actually saw beneficial effects from people doing that. And there's studies showing people eating handfuls of nuts a day with only beneficial effects. The only thing I can imagine in terms of upper limits, there are some higher oxalate nuts like almonds, for example. You wouldn't want to eat more than a cup a day, especially if you're at risk for kidney stones.
Yeah, all right. Okay, and now I want to touch upon the topic of a vegan keto diet or a clean keto diet. So that's basically the opposite, right? It's high fat, low carb. I think they limit their carb intake to something like 20 grams per day. If it's not vegan, high in meat, fish, eggs. But there's also something like a clean vegan keto diet. So I have no idea what they eat, to be very honest with you, but my guess is like a lot of nuts and seeds. And they claim that whole food fats we need it for our cholesterol levels, for hormonal health. If you don't make cholesterol, you cannot produce the right hormones for our brain function, to fight off any potential neurological diseases that we may otherwise get, to promote weight loss. So it's endless. And women, especially women with hormonal issues, they're lost because they want to follow a whole food plant-based diet. Yet all these others are saying, yeah, but we need fat. We need a high fat diet. How do we match that in our head?
Well, as with any important life or death decision, you base it on the science. I mean, all these studies have been, all these questions have been researched. And so what does the science say, right? Now, you don't want dogma or opinion or advice from just random people. You want to know what the science says. And so, I mean, your liver makes all the cholesterol you need. There's zero need for taking any cholesterol in your mouth. So you can make all the hormones you need. In fact, I mean, now that we have these really powerful PCSK9 inhibitor drugs that are injected and can drop people's, cholesterol down to like 20, we really got to see if artificially, if poisoning the enzyme that creates cholesterol in your body, can we get low enough to affect hormone levels? And even then, you don't affect hormone levels. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's not true YouTube nonsense.
Okay. And what about the anti-inflammatory effect of fats? Is there something to say about that?
What do you mean the anti-inflammatory effects of fat? I mean, so when you say fat, what does that even mean? It's like saying carbs. What does that even mean? Carbs are, lentils and lollipops, or kidney beans or jelly beans, right? I mean, so when we talk about protein, are we talking about pork rinds? Are we talking about, lentils or something? And fats, right? Is it lard? Are we talking about walnuts? And so walnuts are an anti-inflammatory food, right? But oil is not. So oil, cheesecake, McDonald's egg and sausage McMuffins, I mean, these have all been put to the test in terms of the pro-inflammatory effects on crippling artery function. And all those, either refined oils in high enough doses or animal fats, have a pro-inflammatory effect, whereas whole food sources of fat, such as avocados and nuts, found to have an anti-inflammatory effect. So it's the sources, right? I mean, we don't eat carbs, fat, protein. We eat food. So which foods are the best? And the best foods are foods as grown. We're talking about whole plant foods.
All right, I think that covers it all. Then a question about cancer. I know in the whole food plant-based community, there's a lot of focus on reversing and preventing heart disease. As you say yourself, the default diet for that should be a whole food plant-based diet. But what
Sure.
about the cancer rates? I mean, if you look at the global cancer rates for both men and women, the top 10 is the US, the Netherlands, France, Belgium, all these countries that are ranking really high. Is there less focus on that because it's more difficult to prevent and reverse cancer, or why is it always so obvious for heart disease? Or
So, I mean, after Dr. Dean Ornish and colleagues conquered our killer number one, heart disease, it moved on to killer number two, cancer. So took a group of men with early stage prostate cancer, put them on the same whole food plant-based diet that reversed heart disease, and found for the first time ever in a randomized controlled trial a dietary lifestyle intervention that reversed the course of disease. So there's a marker that can be used as a proxy for tumor volume, and that continued to get worse on the controlled diet, that continued to eat whatever their doctor told them to eat, and actually went down significantly so compared to the control group in the group that was eating whole food plant-based diet. And then they followed them out for years. They were significantly less likely to have to go to surgery or undergo radiation because of expanding tumor volume. So the only diet ever actually proven to reverse the progression of any kind of cancer, same diet, whole food plant-based diet.
and in terms of reversing, would you say it's the same as for heart disease, or?
Oh, no. I mean, so the most people we only have data on early stage prostate cancer. There's little late stage prostate cancer data. We do have breast cancer survivor data for, various specific plant foods such as soy foods and flax seeds. But there's very little studies that have been done on, there's dozens of types of cancers for which we have absolutely no data. Now, we would just presume, look, a healthy diet can only help. And that's the nice thing about diet, is you can eat a healthier diet regardless of what else you choose to do in terms of treatment. But in terms of diet alone, we have almost no data. So all we can do is say, yeah, eat a healthy diet can only help.
All right, okay. And then a question about nuts. There's some ongoing research, I don't know which specific one to be honest, but that when nuts is consumed by healthy people with good cholesterol levels, that they can actually damage the arterial function and are not as good as we previously thought. Any data on that?
It's not true. It's
That's
just
true.
not true. You can look at my videos on nuts. So if you look at, flow mediated dilation, which is the most important kind of measurement of arterial health that predicts disease outcomes. You add, nuts to people's diets, and the artery function gets better, period.
Okay, all right. Then the next one is about salt. There is also with salt so much confusion going on. There are books by doctors saying that we should include salt in our water in the morning. It's good for our health. It's good for, I don't know, what are the consequences if we do not consume any salt at all? Because we know it doesn't fit in a whole food plant-based diet, but let's say you do not consume any salt at all. Are there any consequences to that?
Well, that's how we should and have always existed for millions of years. You think there were salt shakers? You think there was out on the African savannah? There's no need. We need to take extra salt. There's sodium found in whole plant foods, and in fact, the number one dietary risk factor for death on the planet Earth is excess sodium consumption. And the top 5 worst things about the global human diet, according to the Global Burden of Disease Study, is too much sodium, inadequate whole grains, inadequate vegetables, inadequate fruits, and inadequate nuts and seeds. So those are the worst 5 things we could possibly do. Salt is actually number 1. It surpassed the inadequate fruit consumption in the latest Global Burden of Disease Study. So,
how is it possible then, just like with the soy studies, how is it possible that these doctors seem to refer to studies that we need it? How is that?
They're not. Show me your study. Show me a study where adding salt to people's diet is helpful. Are they thinking there's some like global conspiracy? There's a scientific consensus, right, that excess sodium consumption is bad for people, and so it's like, well, wait a second. If the Earth is round, why are there these flat earthers out there? Well, because they're wrong. That's how they're out there. It doesn't mean just because there's two sides of an issue doesn't mean that both sides are right.
Yeah, exactly. Now a question about the high carb, the carb density of a whole food plant-based diet. Some people will say it will cause hormonal imbalances. It will put our blood sugar level into overdrive. Insulin production is out of whack. It will age us. What can you say about that?
So it's just not true. So you take people, you put people on a whole food plant-based diet, what happens to their insulin levels? Goes down, period. Goes down, significantly down. Because people have this sense that, carbs aren't the only thing that boost insulin, right? So does protein, for example. So animal protein increases insulin levels, the insulin spike, just as bad as pure sugar, pure table sugar. Like, people don't understand that. They're just, this is ignorant internet nonsense. And it's just, would people just look at the signs? That's why I created nutritionfacts.org. Here's the studies. You can see them yourself. Here's the graphs, here's the charts, here's the quotes from the studies, here's the links. You can download the PDF, make sure I didn't take anything out of context. If it wasn't as life and death important as the health and well-being of yourself and your family, then fine. Listen to, what some random person says at the gym or what you read at some checkout counter magazine. But, if there's anything to demand evidence for, it should be something that determines your health and well-being.
All right. And then your new book is coming in December, How Not to Diet, with a brilliant name. I don't know, you obviously will not tell a lot about it right now because that we need to buy the book, right?
I'd tell you anything you want to know.
Oh, really? I should have added more questions. Will your book be mostly about calorie density?
Oh, just one chapter. So there's about 40 chapters. One chapter will be on calorie density. Yeah, very important. One of 17 factors for for optimum ideal ingredients for optimum weight loss diet. So one of the 17, calorie density. Yeah, sure.
Okay, and calorie density, just let me ask one question about it, because some people are a bit confused as to what it is in terms of, it's basically I'm going to explain it in a very simple way, but you're stretching your stomach with foods high in fiber and water, right? Digest fast, and we're stretching it again. And some people say, but that's not how you should lose weight, because when I lose weight, then I feel my stomach is getting actually smaller, and that's how you should lose weight. I was even once told, don't drink so much water, you're going to stretch your stomach. So I think there's maybe a lot of confusion about calorie density. And can you say something about why it is important to actually not limit our foods and stretch our stomach?
The benefit of calorie density is one doesn't have to decrease the amount of food one eats. So if you eat low calorie density foods, you can actually eat more food and lose weight, Mm-hmm. So, something like oil or something, very high calorie density. So a tablespoon of oil has like 120 calories. If you drizzle a tablespoon of oil on your dish, you wouldn't even feel the difference. You could swig a spoonful of oil, you wouldn't feel the difference in your stomach. But 120 calories, that's 2 cups of blackberries, for example. It's a food with a low calorie density, right? So same number of calories, but eat a couple of cups of berries. That could kind of fill you up, right? So that's the difference. So some foods are so low in calorie density, you literally couldn't overeat. So for example, 2 pints of strawberry. This is in the book. I have this example of 2 pints of strawberry ice cream can contain like 2,000 calories. Your stomach's about 4 cups, so 2 pints and fill up your stomach once. That's your calories for the day, right? But to get those same 2,000 calories from strawberries themselves, 44 cups. It would take 44 cups of strawberries. So that's 11 stomachfuls full of strawberries. As much as I love berries, I don't think I could fill my stomach to bursting 11 times a day, right? So some foods are just impossible to overeat. There's no way. You don't even have to worry about calorie counting, portion control, carb counting, none of that, just because you stick to the right foods, and there's just no way you could overeat. It's impossible. You lose weight without even thinking about it. because there's just not enough calories per mouthful, per stomachful, per cup, per pound. And so, so you look, and so, so you stick to whole plant foods, for example, and most of them so low in calorie density that, eating kind of typical amount, 3 or 4 pounds of food a day. I mean, you just can't, you'll lose weight. That's one of the ways. And then you don't feel deprived because you're eating more food than you were before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great way, because it's all about, anyone can lose weight. It's about keeping it off. And how do you keep it off? Well, you don't feel deprived all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You feel full, you feel, satisfied. And you do that by eating huge amounts of food, but it has to be low in calorie density or get too many calories.
Yeah. And do you mention anything about calorie counting, or do you mention calories in your new book or anything like that?
I talk about calories a lot, but you don't need to count calories because it'll just take care of itself. You just follow a few simple rules.
Okay, all right. Well, we just have to wait until December for all of that. I'm looking at the time. Okay, I still have time. I'm having a question now next about vitamin B12. Is there any news about having too much B12 in your body? Like, I know you said before, like there's no such thing as having too high levels of B12. You just pee it out.
Yeah. So expensive urine. That's where you're just wasting your money if you're getting too much B12. But yeah, that's probably yeah.
And also for pregnant women, because there's a study from 2018 on PubMed.org that says if a pregnant woman has extremely high levels of B12, that it can cause neurological problems for her baby, such as autism. I think that will be important to know, but I don't know if that's something that you considered, or are those extremely high levels like extremely high, maybe? Like
I'm
fourfold?
looking right now. Did you say autism?
Yeah, but I think in the study they just say extremely elevated levels of plasma folate and B12 exposure on early brain development.
Oh, do you have the study name?
No, but I know it was 2018.
Okay, well, so there's a study that looked at self-reported supplementation. Moderate, so self-reported supplementation. So this was Raghavan et al. In Pediatrics Perinatology Epidemiology found that those that took multivitamins, B12, there appeared to be a U-shaped relationship between maternal multivitamin supplementation and autism risk.
I know they said extremely elevated, and that can be obviously like, what is extremely elevated?
So this was multivitamins. So to get really high levels of B12 from a multivitamin, presumably you'd have really high levels of everything. And so how do we know it's the B12 as opposed to excess folate intake or excess something else?
Mm-hmm.
What you need to do is actually put it to the test, right? Randomize people to take more or less B12 and see if there's an issue. We shouldn't let. I encourage pregnant women to take prenatal multivitamin, including iodine, something that's too often missing. And vitamin B12 is critically important. Should you?
So maybe mention it. Maybe it's something that, yeah.
I will look into it. And I go through the alphabet every year, and so right now I'm on. I just did grains, so I'm on H. Vitamin B12 is under V, not B, and so it'll be a while, but I will be doing a review of all new vitamin B12 research, and I will include this study.
All right. And do you have any knowledge about thalassemia minor? Do you know what it is, or
it is a blood disorder where doctors basically say you need to eat meat. Even though the iron levels are fine, you need to eat meat. What would you advise to someone with thalassemia minor?
No, so I mean, it's a genetic inherited condition, and part of the consequence is that you have low hemoglobin levels, but you don't have to eat meat to raise your hemoglobin. So this is kind of so iron deficiency, or anytime you have an anemia, regardless, you have to find out why. Are you losing too much blood? Are you not taking enough iron? Or is your body killing your blood cells too quickly? That's actually what happens with thalassemia minor. Your body is prematurely eating up all your blood cells. Eating meat shouldn't have anything to do with it. You can get all the iron you want from the healthier sources, which are plant foods. And if you want to increase iron absorption for whatever reason, although most people shouldn't actually, but if you do, then you can eat vitamin C rich foods with your iron rich foods. So, bell peppers and tropical fruits and citrus fruits and broccoli. Taking this time with iron-rich foods will increase iron absorption, but most people should not go out of the way to increase iron absorption because we don't want to have too high levels of iron in our blood. We want to have low storage levels while maintaining our hemoglobin.
So no specific plant-based advice there?
You should continue to eat a healthy diet regardless, and a healthy diet is one packed with as many whole plant foods as possible.
All right. And then endometriosis, anything in the new coming up on that? A lot of women are suffering, struggling actually with endometriosis. And I think the advice you gave is to eat seaweed. Any other advice that is coming? Because apparently there were a lot of questions about it. So apparently they're like
rack, right? Bladder rack. Let's see, and it was like a teeny amount. Yeah, it would be really neat to see that study replicated. I will continue to see if there's any new studies that come down the pike. If anyone sees one, feel free to send it to me. And if it's groundbreaking, interesting, and practical, I will do a video about it.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm almost running out of time. So a few more personal questions. Someone said, Dr. Greger is only walking on his treadmill. What is he doing to train his muscles for bone health?
Well, what do you mean? I'm walking on my treadmill. That's weight-bearing exercise. I'm, what else you need to do?
I think they're referring to lifting weights, resistance.
No, so you don't have to. No, so I mean, weight-bearing exercise is how you increase your skeleton, and walking is a way to do that.
All right. Then I've seen you're quite busy until the end of next year, 2020. You're fully booked, right, with speakers events.
It looks about 200 cities at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're also going to Europe, so I hope.
Oh yeah, speaking Poland for the first time and Belgium, I think, for the first time.
Germany.
Yep. Germany. I've spoken Germany before. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I hope to catch you either in Poland or in Germany. That would be nice. But how do you do that yourself, actually? How do you travel and eat, especially oil-free? Do you just have a little bit of
no. I mean, I do the best I can. Only when I really have control over my diet at home can I really eat healthy. But yeah, I'm stuck in some, airport food court and, doing the best I can. But yeah, it's really hard to eat. Probably even harder is low sodium, right? I mean, everybody adds salt to food. I mean, it's hard to get away. It's hard to get around that. But, yeah. I mean, I do my best. A lot of times when I'm staying when I go to some place, people will, feed me. They'll, I'll go over to their house and that's probably the healthiest way to eat. But look, you go here, I can go to Whole Foods. I know they have a big salad bar and heart bar, and they tend to have, then I can choose whatever foods I want rather than being at the, letting people make foods for me.
Yeah, well, that's perfect. And what is in the pipeline after your book tour for How Not to Diet? There are some rumors about how not to age. Is that true?
That's the next book. So I'm on a 3-year book cycle. So I will start writing that in January 2021. It'll be out December 2022.
All right. Okay. Well, I think that was it. I have a lot of more questions actually, but I'm going to take too much of your time. I already appreciate this half hour I got with you. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to answer all these questions. And I hope to meet you next year.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right, that was it. I hope you learned something, and I hope some information was new to you. I really did my best in order to squeeze in your question if you had one and if you submitted one. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you think of this interview. If you have any questions, maybe I can answer them. Give me a thumbs up if you think you like this type of content, and I know I can continue. So yeah, that was it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Stay well, and I will see you in the next upload. Bye!